Hello, you are with Star Television on Channel 21, and this is the National News Bulletin. First, the top stories. The Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, together with the Ministry of Finance, has signed a memorandum of understanding for the payment of salaries of university lecturers.
The government is going to pay the salaries, going to pay the nursing, and going to pay the pay. That has been a real serious problem for most institutions.
The Minister of Lands, Housing and Environment, Dr. Denis Sandi, has reported claims that the Ministry of Lands didn't derive its authority while embarking on the repossession of government lands within the Western area.
There will come a time when I know the president will take that bold decision. So you know what? Royal Villa, we have to knock all of them down, give them to a good developer that will change the landscape of this station to the good of this.
A team of assessors from the Diaba Secretariat has arrived in the country to undertake a 2-week-long assessment on financial institutions' technical legal compliance in the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing.
Recommendations. FATA 40 consolidated recommendations on the prevention of money laundering and terrorism financing, especially that which has to do with reporting entities.
The Market Women Association in the Western Area Whole District has organized a meeting of peace and reconciliation for cheerleaders in Waterloo with the theme Promoting Peace and Cohesion in the Marketplaces for Rural Development.
They do so, the other areas, the politicians and even other people, therefore call them people them and talk to them, because as market woman then, when we go come here, maybe we go mingle with their country.
A non-governmental organization called Apple Sierra Leone has donated food and non-food items to the Variety Children and Family Service Child Protection Agency in Freetown.
So for give back in a society, it's very necessary. You know the wait past you get donor. You dey begin do waiting you get. So waiting we do now, we can see so now today as we come with waiting we get. The lily will get for can share with picking them what they need.
All these making the headlines. And now the news in detail with me, Leonora Jawala. The Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, together with the Ministry of Finance, has on Friday, 12th July 2019, signed a memorandum of understanding for the payment of salaries of university lecturers. The MOU was signed at the conference room in the Ministry of Finance. Judge Elliot Sam has more and in our reports.
The Minister of Finance, Jacob Joseph Safa, said the tireless effort of the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education officials in making this intervention a reality justify the decisions of the President to separate the Education Ministry. Integrating the university payroll into the national payroll is part of the government public expenditure review, which includes payroll audit. He announced the new agreement, he said, will ensure prompt monthly payment to university staffs. The Memorandum of Understanding dictates that the government undertake payment of salaries and allowance, including rent, medical, annual leaves, and 10% NACIT contribution of cash staff. The minister noted that salary payment to associate with lecturers and other allowance, including ex-graduate payment to contract staff, will be undertaken by the institution using government subvention and internally generated fund. He called on the tertiary education institution to ensure prompt reporting of staff termination, replacement, recruitment, and all relevant information.
This is part of the public expenditure review. We are constantly looking at the payroll, we are constantly looking at the public expenditure generally, to come what differently from us. Whilst we try to integrate the payroll of the university into the central payroll system, we are also doing audits of the entire payroll government. we discover anomalies within the Ministry of Finance of tampering, anomalies related to tampering of the payroll system inside.
The Minister of Technical and Higher Education, Professor Yapakima, said the days of strike actions by lecturers are over, noting that the New Direction government prioritizes lecturers' welfare. He called on the universities, colleges to ensure timely submission of relevant information to the Ministry of Finance and Higher Education. We expect high level of efficiency from the lecturers with this new agreement, he expressed.
When you read it, there are certain clauses that you should note of. And let me mention one, that your associate lecturers are now going to be paid by you from the subvention you get and from the resources you get from your school fees or tuition. So the government is going to pay the salaries, going to pay the nurses, and going to pay the pay. That has been a real serious problem for most institutions. And the excuses, I appreciate that the government at that time was not giving, the subvention was not good enough, so they had to pay the salaries. Now, the salaries will be paid by the government. If you are replacing, we make sure that we know, we make sure that we reform finance and we reform the registration of issues so that we can take one name and put another one there. Somebody dies, they resign. We need to know that, don't give it for 2 months, because that will affect you. If you are going to employ, remember there is a freeze of employment. But if you have a serious case, let us know, and we shall come down to this area and talk to our colleagues and see what will happen out of that. Only if you make a case to us. So don't sit down and assume that it's going to happen by magic.
The Deputy Minister of Technical and Higher Education, Dr. Turat Sedesi, described the event as a milestone that will support quality education. This move marks the end of an era where lecturers go for months without salaries, he noted, while highlighting the challenges being faced by university staff over the years. According to him, we have witnessed situations of staff allowance being accumulated over a period of 1 year with no assurance of bulk payment. Lecturers, he said, have been struggling to maintain their respect and dignity in various communities as their kids were being asked out of schools for failure to timely pay tuition fees. He, however, noted that the latest laudable intervention by the government will require commitment from the lecturers to improve on the standard of education in the country through better service delivery.
That at the end of every month, they will get alerts on their phones, notifying them that salaries have been paid. And we know the happiness, the smile that we are going to see on the faces of our lecturers. As a government, our resolve is to inject new models into the academic activities of our society to enhance better quality service delivery. We believe with the timely payment of salaries, our lecturers can once again land their families well, have time to update their lecture notes, conduct assessment, and above all, research.
The principal of the Milton Magai College of Education and Technology, Dr. Philip John Kanu, said the Memorandum of Understanding, which has been signed between and among Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, the Ministry of Finance, and various statutory institutions, universities, and college, is a good move that will see the start of payment of salaries and other allowances of academic and administrative staff of tertiary education institutions. He furthered that with the new agreement, the government will ensure timely payment of salaries on a monthly basis. The New Direction government places premium on welfare of lecturers. He reiterated, adding that the government is determined to minimize poverty and support savings.
It's actually a very important ceremony for us as heads of institutions because it's going to take the burden of salaries from our necks. But that has been a very serious issue that actually affects most of the time when you go to the office, you look at your staff, you know that you've not yet paid them, and it's over a month or two, you will not be able to really push them for them to do what they're supposed to do.
For Star News in Freetown, George Elliott Sam reported.
The Minister of Lands, Housing and Empowerment, Dr. Dennis Sandi, has refuted claims that the Ministry of Lands didn't derive its authority while embarking on the repossession of government lands within the Western area. He made this disclosure at the weekly government press briefing at the Ministry of Information and Communication. Here is more on that report.
Under the new direction, I'm not concerned about any more police population. Me and another thing, we go into enforcement and implementation because at the end of the 5-year period, we'll be judged not by the policies, but what people will be seeing on the ground. It's simple. This country is rich in policy formulation. We have all the documents, we have all the acts, we have all the instruments. You think they don't know? Yes, over time we can review them because time is dynamic. And then the environmental dimension, things change, that is clear. As I'm talking to you now, even the first lift for the military guys is under consideration by His Excellency. Last week we were at Samuel Town, we've discovered a whole piece of land where a developer is coming to put up a state-of-the-art modern housing facility for our military women and men. The same thing for my first barracks. But then we need to be serious regarding implementation. That's the key. Housing. Of course, you're all seeing the dilapidated or derelict structures, of the old villas. You've seen them. But we should have passed that stage now. You go to Ghana now, look at it. I saw something on social media. The kind of housing infrastructure being put up by the Ghanaians is like the ones we are seeing in Europe and Americas. What are you talking? And now we have oil villas there that are so dilapidated, and you want us to leave them? Lie. There will come a time when I know the president will take that bold decision. Now, you know what? Oil villa, we have to knock all of them down. Give them to a good developer that will change the landscape of this station to the good of this country. That is implementation. But let us move further. Apart from the buildings I'm seeing around Apatit coming up now, and then Hill Court Road on the left-hand side, where we have these military guys, do we have an apartment building in Freetown? No. We don't have! We are still lagging behind. We don't have. And then we are here talking that we are proud to be Sierra-Leoneans. Yeah, because we are born here. So we don't have any choice. You just have to say that. But when we moved into other African countries, Abuja, Accra, even here, Liberia, they have apartment buildings. We don't have. When you move to the Americans, believe me, you land in America today in Washington or Dallas or California, you are short of having your own apartment building. You can decide to stay there for the rest of your life. This is why nobody's grabbing land in America. So if you give us time to implement land use planning for overall development, honestly, in the next 10 years of the power of government, you see the difference in this country. Now, we have a team that were established almost 2 or 3 months down the line. It's called the Repossession Committee of the Ministry. The role of that committee is to move around the entire western region, both rural and urban, identify possible state lands, and then move in that again if the documents are suspicious or not authentic. We hold negotiations and discussions with members of the community, and then we strike a balance. And that balance has really, proved useful for us, as a ministry. I'm pleased to say that we have had negotiations with people from Bathurst and Charlotte. Now, this was what happened that most of you don't know. You see, the Ministry of Land is a very technical and sensitive area. If you don't have the expertise, the best you can do is to come and ask, but don't involve in discussions that you too don't understand. Now, how can you have a piece of land, say 100 acres, and then you don't have a document for it, and then you say the land belongs to you? Or how can you have a piece of land, say 150 acres, and then the land you produce is suspicious or even fake? The land doesn't belong to you. Simple. So, what we have done to avoid all these cases of going to the courts, and to avoid all these conflicts, and to avoid all these suspicions, we've held discussions with them. Let's say, for instance, you have 80 acres of land at Charlotte. You come to the ministry, we discuss. All what you want is to sell those tracts of land. We'll give you 50, we'll give you 30 acres of land, and the government, of course, is proud to have the remaining 50 acres of land that we are distributing effectively to Sierra-Leoneans. What is wrong with that? If you die today, and then, let's say Allah forbids, if I fall down today and go, I will have a place called my resting place, called a grave. It's clear. So why can't you have your own 2-town lot or a place you can call yours when you are alive? You don't need to die before you can get a place called your home. You don't need to die. That is the simple analogy. On lands, I'm proud again to say that for the fourth batch or the fourth time, we have issued conveyances, freehold conveyances to deserving Australians. Freehold conveyances. This is the fourth list. These are the conveyances of those who are not able to come to actually collect their conveyances. Look at them. There is no conveyance here, with the name Dr. Sandy or Rex Bonafa. These are people, over time, with state land documents. They've constructed their houses, they're living there with their families, and they want freeholds now. We have given them their freehold documents. Now, this is it. You come for the freehold interview, we discuss the fee openly, very transparently, you pay to the government, and then we undertake the entire process of processing your conveyance. All you need to do is to come now when called upon, say, congratulations, this is your conveyance.
A team of assessors from the Gaba Secretariat has arrived in the country to undertake a 2-week-long assessment on financial institutions' technical and legal compliance in the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. Lawyer Abdullah Sise is the Director of Legal Affairs Financial Intelligence Unit. When he visited our studios, he spoke to my colleague Abdulrahman Kamara in this interview on the importance of the country's assessment in the fight against money laundering.
First of all, we have to know that we are a member state of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, and it is summarized in the acronym JABA. JABA is a French acronym. I hope you will not ask me to speak French.
I will not.
And we're a member of that organization, and it is meant to coordinate, to combine efforts in the battle against money laundering and also terrorism financing, and to ensure that member states implement fully or comply with the FATF recommendations, FATF 40 consolidated recommendations on the prevention of money laundering and terrorism financing, especially that which has to do with reporting entities. So the mutual evaluation simply means experts from member states on a periodic basis carry out an assessment of how far a country has gone in implementing the preventive measures against money laundering and terrorism financing. Using FATF recommendations as a benchmark. A number of countries have been assessed, and this year is for Sierra Leone to be assessed by our peers. It's a kind of a peer review mechanism to see how far we have gone in technical compliance as well as effective compliance. That's basically what mutual evaluation means. Self-assessment is actually a bit different, right? Self-assessment, you do it internally for the consumption of the local authorities or the national authorities. But this one now is actually a provision under Articles 13 and 14 of the JABA statute revised in 2012 to ensure that countries are assessed by their peers. You have experts from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Senegal, from other countries that are members of JABA, and some other international partners, to just come and see how far we have gone in implementing these preventive measures of money laundering and terrorism financing. The FIU is not a one-stop shop, because the AML-CFT regime, the anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism regime, is a multi-stakeholder project, right? You have a lot of other institutions that must play their own role effectively for us to succeed. You have the police, you have the law officers department, you have the anti-corruption commission, you have the CISU, the Central Intelligence and Security Unit, and all other security, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies in the country must play their own role effectively. So when we combine our effort together, we're going to produce a result. FIU is actually, by its nature, is a coordinating body. It's there to coordinate the efforts of other law enforcement agencies. We are the national correspondent. The director of FIU is the national correspondent who actually responds to international queries on what is going on within the anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism regime in Sierra Leone. So you'll have to report on progress, what happens in not only within the FIU, but what happens in other entities, law enforcement agencies, vis-a-vis the preventive measures to money laundering and terrorism financing. The essence of the assessment essentially is to know what not only the FIU but what other law enforcement entities have done, how far they have gone, or how far they have played their role to make sure that this regime is effective. That is the essence of the assessment. It's a national assessment. It's not limited within the FIU, but other law enforcement agencies will be contacted, they will be visited, they will be even visiting other reporting entities to see how far our efforts combined together have produced results with respect to AML-CFT. Essentially, the mutual evaluation looks for two things, basically, just two. They will look for technical compliance and effective compliance. Technical compliance is going to look at the legal structure, the legal regime. We have the laws do we have the laws in place? Do we have the administrative structures in place to make sure that the regime works? That's what is called technical compliance. Because if you don't have the law, essentially you cannot work properly. So they're going to look at our laws, the laws we have, whether these laws are robust enough or they are sufficient to have, a results-oriented AML-CFT regime. That is technical compliance. That's what they're coming to look for. The second ambit of it is what they call effective compliance. Effective compliance simply means now you have the laws, you have these administrative structures, but where are the results? Have you implemented? Because there's a difference between having a law and having it being implemented. You can have a law if you don't enforce it. You don't implement it, it is as good as anything on paper. So that's a very important aspect that we'll be looking at and see whether we have the laws first. Second, whether this law that we have are actually being enforced or implemented in practice.
While you're still watching the news bulletin here on Star TV, now a meeting of peace and reconciliation of cheerleaders organized by the Market Women Association in the Western Area Wall District in Waterloo, with a theme promoting peace and cohesion in the marketplaces for rural development, has been described as a move in the right direction and an initiative for market women to stay out of politics. Andrew Bestman takes up the story.
The Sierra Leone Market Women Association has noted with concern that their membership and activities have been pledged with political affiliation, which sometimes creates disunity and unfriendly atmosphere within our various marketplaces. Addressing her colleague, Market Women, the National Secretary General of the organization, Hajar Rabiatu Conte, reiterated the need for market women not to deeply involve in politics, noting that it will create division and disunity. She expressed the need for the entire membership to embark on promoting peace and development in the district, as well as across the country, with a view to complementing the efforts of government in its strive to bring in peace and national cohesion in the country. Hajar Rabiatu Conte reminded our audience that politics is over and encouraged all cheerleaders to champion the initiative of bringing sanity amongst market women by promoting peace and national cohesion.
All the markets there. We don't do the same kind of thing in Western Oba last week Thursday, so we can't go and now for Kandwa. And I UN women that they support the market women there for this kind of meeting. That makes so we can in the US, but call all the challenges and a different markets. And not to say our salon, so come out Tomo, so come out Estate, so come out Trade, Bobo, Toke, they're all there now. But then I tell them peace. And at all the executive and at the market there. So then we will come small meeting now and then different market and tell them market man not a politician.
The Councillor of Ward 372, Councillor Abubakar Kamara, underscored the importance of women in our society and encouraged them to be role models, citing the instances of the women of strong faith and passion that followed the trials and crucifixion of Jesus Christ down to the tomb where he was buried, noting that had they been part of Christ's disciples, they wouldn't have been betrayed.
get friends from the Holy Bible, we not a Christian, but I read the Bible. Christ get in disciple. One woman only among the disciples. I want to say, if we be among the disciples, not for the Christian betray Christ. Christ be talk say, one part in disciple, then they disappoint them, they get for denial. When Peter, as the followers know, what did Peter do? He denied Christ when they were working. When Christ died, after when they don't go, beg him, and that's true. Most people, man, they all be afraid to go look beside and beg this man. Now, woman them, and then stand up, then go for those see what they happen at this particular side. Man, not ever attempt to do that. Woman first each other side. So I guess special respect for woman them, more especially on this particular meeting where you come very fine, very wonderful, and we should appreciate them because now the right meeting and the right direction.
In an interview with the zonal chairlady of Grassfield Community, Kadiatu Jawara, and Fatmata Beatrice Leby, commended the association for organizing such a meeting, hoping that it will achieve the desired goal and objectives of the association.
And I also believe that other sectors will copy from this women's forum. What they do so, the other areas, then politicians and even other people, then for call them people them and talk to them. Because as Makitu and then, when we go come here, maybe we go mingle with them kind of people that we don't know what he said and they preach peace. And so we only hope say that will happen.
The meeting organized for cheerleaders in the Western Area Rural District is a step in the right direction to help promote peace and tranquility in all marketplaces. Andrew Westman reporting.
A non-governmental organization, Apple Sierra Leone, has on Friday, 12th July 2019, donated food and non-food items to the Variety Children and Family Service Child Protection Agency at their Kington residence in Freetown. Julie Smart has more.
The gesture, according to Moses Ellie, operations manager, Apple Sierra Leone, is aimed at enhancing the livelihood for children at Variety Sierra Leone as an outfit on child protection. He further pointed out that the organization is focused on helping the less privileged in society, adding that it's a non-profit organization that caters for humanitarian assistance.
And today we don't kind of Apple and Variety Children, but can help them with food. As you see, they cook food where in Apple suits the bill, and we come with a bag of rice, drinks, cooking condiments like palm oil, 5 gallons of palm oil, and other things for help them because then they need. So this is not the work we happily do, and we not get external funding it, but to give back in a society is very necessary. You know the wait past you get donor. You begin do waiting you get. So waiting we do now, we can see so now today as we come with waiting we get. The lily will get for can share with the picking them what they need because we organization they help the picking them and the woman them. So if we are today, and that's we can purpose the can donate to the picking them and help for support them.
Francis Lahai, founder and chief executive officer of Variety Sierra Leone Child Protection Agency, said he is delighted to receive the donation and described as huge the gesture of goodwill from Apple Sierra Leone. He recounted some of the challenges faced, especially in the area of payment of staff salaries, and called on government to render assistance in order to address some of their accompanying challenges.
I feel very much happy, and it's a special feeling about Apple too, because the way they express themselves, they do a parallel business, but they are also in humanitarian services. We are also in humanitarian services. I feel say it's a very good thing for even a partnership, because when you're dealing with these children, the needs of these children in this nation, no one organization can do it. We all have to do it, work together, help each other to see the future of these children and the nation. Unofficially, Variety started way back in 2012. We begin to help communities, rehabilitate schools, work with children in the provinces. Then officially, we really started this home in 2015, with an ICC, an interim care center, wherein we respond to the calls for children in crisis. How do they bring them? For 60, 90 days, we also look for families. We make sure we check their background, then go through a very hectic process for become certified foster parents. We will then do other course there with the issue license and give them the Pikin. Because we believe, say, the Pikin for grow up in a community, not in an orphanage. This is not an orphanage per se. It is an interim care center where a Pikin they come, they just pass through, go in a home, they grow up in a community, go to community schools. Why? Because if a child is abused, then a child is raped, or you don't lost mama by tragic accident or whatever it is, you take that Pikin, you put in an orphanage, the trauma continues. Per se, you are putting that child in prison. But if you let that Pikin live in a community with a family, normal family, go to a community school, play with a company, a community, that trauma goes away naturally. So that's why we believe in that, and it is working.
Glenna Williams, a concerned citizen from the United States of America, also donated food items to the Variety Children and Family Service Child Protection Agency. For Star TV News, Julie Smart reporting.
Well, that's all we have for you in a National News Bulletin 5 here on Star TV, Channel 21. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Leonora Jawara. Please stay with us if you can.